Hi, Lights Out family! Recently, I caught a South Korean horror feature directed by Jang Jae-hyun called Exhuma. It took the horror cinematic scene by storm, and despite the hefty length, just kept the audience engaged much like Na Hong-jin's The Wailing from 2016. So today, I will do a bit of comparison and then individual review of these two monumental K-horror of the last decade. Both films run beyond 120 minutes. Both films were the director's third directorial feature. Both films have intense Korean shamanism scene. Both films had a midpoint that gave an impression of a forced ending. Both plots involve some Japanese supernatural elements. Both plots can be meandering and a bit hard to grasp, but when you do, it is rewarding. Last but not least, and most importantly, both got high Rotten Tomatoes scores. During the golden period of the Asian horror, which I would put Hideo Nakata's Ringu in 1999 as the benchmark, South Korea also gave us many memorable features, including works from award-winning directors like Park Chan-wook, Kim Jae-woon, and Bong Joon-ho. Which of these had you watched and which are in your all-time favorites?
영원히 너와 함께 있고 싶어. 너와 함께 있고 싶어. 너와 함께 있고 싶어.
한 번만이라도 너처럼 되고 싶어.
28, 29. 여우야, 여우야, 내 소원을 들어줘.
죽여줘요, 제발.
뱀파이어는 불사의 존재가 아니에요. 그래도 내 피를 원하십니까?
신부님 오기를 기다렸어요.
나랑 같이 가요. 내가 이 지옥에서 데리고 나가줄게요.
지금 이 집에서는 무슨 일이 일어나고 있는 거니?
아니에요. 제 드라마 아니야.
오빠는 벌써 우리에게 주인공이 됐는걸요?
그러니까 죽어버려. 죽으란 말이야. 죽어.
Into the last decade of Korean horror. I don't know if we could just classify as zombies and psychological horrors. Beside the two epics I'm reviewing today, the following are some of the most memorable ones from 2015 to 2024.
5%는 두 사람당 한 대씩 지급될 거예요.
내가 이 친구 들어가는 곤자 정보야.
들어가면
죽는 거야.
대장 어딨어?
인간은 죽고 악마만 남는다는 거예요.
죽여버리라고.
누구야?
물개가 실로 있단 말이니. 물개는 있습니다.
자, 지금부터 내가 시키는 대로만 움직여요.
그래서 우리 인원 지금 정확히 어디 있는 거죠?
죽은 자들의 공간. 귀는 귀가 있을 곳에, 신은 신이 있는 곳에.
이 땅에 탁한 기운을 가진 마군들이 81개가 태어난다고 예언되어 있습니다.
강원도 본부를 조사하다가 우연히 발견된 불교계 신흥 종교입니다. 이거 보통 일 아닙니다. 위에 뭔가가 있어요.
All the things are connected each other.
도대체 뭘 쫓고 있는 거니? 누구야 너?
주님의 종들을 구하소서. 저에게 든든한 보를 되어주시고 그럴 때마다 죽여버리고 싶으니까.
동기를 주시려. 아주 가끔 믿음이 깊은 신자한테 나타날 때가 있어요.
너네 밀린 숙박료 안내?
오늘 밤까지만 봐주세요.
혜순아, 이번 달만 어떻게?
인터넷에서 혜선이 닮은 애를 좀 봐서 말이야.
뭐?
어디 가셨대?
혜선이 무슨? 우리 혜선이 못 찾으면 너부터 죽을 줄 알아.
얘들은 저희 지금 뉴스타트 공격합니다.
당신은 저 노숙자 아니에요.
너 가만 있어. 한 발만 움직여 쏴버릴 거야.
개용아, 나 아직 살아있어.
데일리모드 김나영 기자입니다.
떨어지지가 않아.
뭐가요?
아닌가 싶어서.
앞에 뭐가 있어?
옥수역 계단 하나 나올 것 같지 않아요?
오늘 역대 최악 농도를
보신 것처럼 시민들이 갑자기 돌면은 그들의 폭력성을 보이고 무자비하게 다른 사람들을 공격하기도 합니다.
몇 독한?
선을 끝나면 들어가자. 당신을 봐. 지금 무슨 일이 벌어지고 있는지 몰라? 우리 열차는 더 이상 부산으로 운행할 수가 없게 됐습니다.
A wealthy family bore a curse in which the firstborn from each generation would suffer from a mysterious illness due to geomancy related to their ancestor tomb. This was a concept no stranger to the Chinese tradition and faith as well. A pair of fashionable, tech-savvy shamans tagging with a geomancer who eats dirt and vape, and in the parallel universe would indulge in live octopus, and a mortician who might be the collateral of all these strange ongoings, but with the pure intention to earn money like you and I would. The quartet thought it was a routine exhumation of a tomb, became increasingly arduous car ride to a place where birds do not lay their eggs. Geomancer Kim felt this was no ordinary tomb site. Still, the show must go on, and a lot of effort and money was splashed to conduct a proper exhumation which was going to unleash the pure evil within. The first act was truly the treat of the entire movie, as I could see strong elements of Korean shamanic rituals, but also reference to Chinese jiangshi movie from the golden era, and eventually strange and creepy Japanese folklore. The scares that resulted in a goosebumps raising response from me would be something subliminal but very effective to send audience unhinged unless you purposely tried to be oblivious to it. The second act was pulsating with interesting juxtaposition of backdrop like a hospital, also in the middle of nowhere, and a rural monastery where the whole Jiangshi film's homage was apparent, and director Jang splashed the viscera on the screen to shake the viewers immensely. Going into the final act, things got to be a bit hard to catch. There was a bit of rushing even when the runtime totaled to about 130 minutes. Geomancer Kim's and Shaman Hua Rin's objectives were not synchronized, yet there was an urgent need to work together. Odds certainly seems to stack against them, and they were dealing with a threat that was foreign. By the end, it definitely pales in comparison with what transpired in the earlier plot. Nonetheless, this was a refreshing story in the world of K-horror and was an eye-opener to the global audience. For me, the plot of Exhuma would actually work wondrously as a 5 episodes miniseries in the style of HBO's True Detectives. We have the pilot episode of how the shamans were engaged by the wealthy American family, and we introduced to Kim and the Mortician. In episode 2, we will see the exhumation and the unleashing of the evil. In episode 3, the visceral part of the story, much like the Red Wedding from the Games of Thrones. For episode 4, the painstaking procedures to uptake in order to face the big bad. And the final episode, the climactic showdown and the resolution of all main characters. Director Jang Jae-hyun, who previously made occult films The Priest from 2015 and Svaha, the Sixth Finger from 2019, mentioned that despite making movies about Buddhism or Christianity, he always had his pulse on Korean shamanism. He had been in contact with over 50 Mu shamans, and from what he had learned over the years, he was able to create this enthralling tale. The entire plot point of the Japanese occupation having a long-lasting issue with the Korean dynasty was an interesting concept. An audience who had slight interest with the Japanese folklore and mythology may have joy with certain visuals. In terms of storytelling, I thought Jang was able to create suspense that grabs the audience. Well, at least to the midpoint. Regardless how long in the tooth it got till to the end, the multitude of ideas Jang was able to foster and create was admirable. The performances were stellar. Veterans like Choi Min-sik and Yoo Hae-jin had a seamless chemistry on screen and certainly enjoyable from their trials and tribulations. Bong-gil, the male shaman who had been through escalating physical turmoil, was played by Lee Do-hyun, who fans of The Glory on Netflix would duly recognize. I thought he was an engaging side character. Flowers had to be given to Hwarim actress Kim Go-eun, who gave her all, acting, dancing, and even singing. She was awarded the Best Actress accolade in the recent Big Sun Arts Awards, and she certainly deserves it. Exhuma has a stunning, eye-catching trailer, and it measured up admirably as a final product. Don't be turned off by the 134 minutes runtime and buck up for a wild ride. This is a 9 upon 10 from me. Director Na Hong-jin, who made gritty cathartic films like The Chaser and The Yellow Sea, did not swerve too much on what made him famous in the Korean cinematic scene. Just that this was sprinkled with some supernatural elements, resulting in a real heavy, mind-bending feature that left audience wrecked after watching the movie. Unlike Exhuma, this was a less bourgeois setting of a rural mountainous village of Gokseong, where a middle-aged policeman Jong-gu, not well regarded by superior and stuttering in his career, always skirting through with doing the minimal when his town was ridden with a spat of accidents, murders, and suicides. All seems related, yet so unassociated. It could be xenophobia, or just picking the obvious when a strange, evil-looking Japanese man infiltrated the town. Everybody would lay the blame on him. Once again, the animosity from the Japanese occupation from the early decades of the 20th century could have remnants in these small villages. Soon, Jong-gu got affected in a more personal manner, and you slowly see him degenerated into a frantic man with a mission. Very admirable, especially when it was blatant he was a policeman by name without all the guile or dexterity to handle most of the situations with regards to the adversities, and even more disarrayed when dealing with the supernatural. Although the Wailing ran a good 150 minutes, as audience we were entrenched with the intensity as the plot thickens. I think director Na purposely juxtaposed scenes of beautiful natural scenery with the dread and dreariness of living in this village even without the macabre ongoings. The constant raining resembled the dreary feeling from Seven, and houses were all dilapidated and people were not well polished. The scene with the daughter savaging on a mountain of fish meat and bones truly upset me. You just knew you were not looking at a normal human being. Man, that scene was very effective to bring about the catharsis. Speaking of the daughter, who was the element that wrecked me the most for most of the plot, she was brilliantly portrayed by Kim Kwan-hee. Jong-goo's little princess was his emotional anchor, as we saw the strong father-daughter relationship, so whatever transpired was truly gut-wrenching. Another sympathetic character for me was the poor training priest Yang Isam, who was dragged into the maelstrom because he could do translation, but ultimately he was just a collateral. Kunimura Jun was an actor in the Japanese cinematic scene, well known in Yakuza roles, but generally a well-respected thespian who had the memorable look you will never forget. In his role as the stranger, he balanced benevolence and malevolence in his role very well and duly rewarded with the Blue Dragon Film Awards that year. After multiple rewatches within a matter of weeks, I started to develop my take on the plot and the ending. So from this point onwards, I will spoil the movie. So move forward 3.5 minutes if you do not want to be spoiled. In many folklores across Asia, the mountains always had a spiritual entity. They could be malevolent or benevolent. For the folks of the mountainous Gokseong village, a malevolent entity had been unleashed and started infecting the villagers in the form of bites or scratches by spreading the rabies virus. The Japanese stranger was an onmyoji who had sensed the impending danger and arrived in an attempt to stop this entity. However, he was not very effective, even though he had managed to identify all prospective victims with the photographs he had taken. The aftermath photographs taken was to remind him of his failure, as you could see him becoming more and more disenchanted when his failures to stop the infections stacking up. His persistent escape from Jong-gu was because he felt his mission was still in progress, and if he was to be caught, he could not complete what he came here to do. The lady in white could be a minion for the evil entity and help her master to earmark all prospective victims. Thus, she could be seen collecting clothing items of these victims like Hyojin's hair clip. This was why she had been spreading words about the Japanese stranger as the actual evil when she knew he was the main threat to her and her master. This was also the reason for the Japanese to chase her down relentlessly when his own life was at stake. We did not know what was the real purpose of the evil entity. Perhaps to slowly suck a person's soul. We did know it was through some grievous body harm to the victims, turning them into soulless zombies-like creatures, losing humanity and kill anyone in sight. The entity might also be able to shapeshift into the Japanese onmyoji as a demon-like creature roaming the mountain. The shaman employed by Jong-gu's mother-in-law could be legitimate to ward off evil for the people in this region from the onset, but he was being overpowered and slowly manipulated by the evil entity. That particular heavy scene of dueling rituals between the shaman and the onmyoji could be both for the same objective to fight off the evil entity from affecting the victims, which of course they were being tricked that they had succeeded. After the near-death experience for the Japanese onmyoji, his soul might have been consumed and his caste now taken over by the evil entity. And when confronted by the feeble training priest, slowly he metamorphosed into one of its scariest form. The shaman might have come under the spell of the evil entity prior to his encounter to the lady in white at the doorstep of Jong-gu's house. He could be fighting it because of his strong religious belief, but ultimately he had been taken over and become a pawn to mislead the poor policeman. As for the lady herself, She was not evil by nature, but she knew by betraying her master, she would be due a painful repercussion. Yet she still tried her best to help the likes of Jong-gu. We as audience were as confused as Jong-gu, but in the end, the lady in white was telling the truth and evil won again. In an extended ending not added to the actual movie, we could see the shaman and the Onmyoji left in a car, likely to carry out more deviant missions in another unsuspecting rural village or even the city. Of course, after the Wailing in 2016, director Na had not been busy making a new film for a while. He did co-wrote the script for the Thai horror The Medium from 2021, which totally deserved to be mentioned in the same breath as the brilliance of this movie. If I had not highlighted at my earlier part of the review, I was left devastated at the end of the movie. I wondered you would be too. Mesmerizing 9 upon 10 for The Wailing from me as well. As always, please click a like if you appreciate my effort in this review, and subscribe to all Lights Out Ghost Story channels on the YouTube, Facebook and Spotify. 안녕히 주무세요.